All right, welcome back where education meets art and innovation and where creativity isn't lost in the cloud. This is your co host, Professor Manikaya, and today's episode is Staying Ahead of the Game. So, why do we title that? Because in this digital age, it's not enough for educators and artists to play the game, we need to stay steps ahead of it.
I'm your co host, your resident artist and professor, Dr. Henrietta Wright. And exactly, we're talking about mindset, digital fluency, and how today's educators, especially emerging Gen Z teachers, can lead rather than follow when it comes to AI in education. So you can't be ahead of the game if you don't know the game you're playing. And with AI evolving daily, the game is changing faster than ever.
Right. And here's the twist: staying ahead of the game isn't about mastering tools, it's about understanding ourselves as learners, creators, and teachers. Are we just consumers of AI? Are we collaborators in shaping what it becomes?
Yeah. And for our students, especially those in teacher preparation programs, it's critical. If you're using AI to shortcut your way through assignments, you're not learning how to think critically or to teach authentically. But if you're using it to scaffold ideas, reflect, revise, and bring depth to your planning, now that's ahead of the game.
So let's talk about what we've seen in these classrooms. So this semester, I've been integrating AI with tools like Genially and Canva AI, and I see students go from passive to engage when they're guided properly. But I also seen the flip side: students who see AI as a replacement for their voice rather than an extension of it.
Yeah, and that is a risk. When AI becomes a crutch, it kind of hinders your growth. But when it becomes a co teacher, a prompt, a mirror, a conversation starter, it opens doors. So we're mentoring future teachers must be fluent, not just in pedagogy, but in digital responsibility.
I agree. So let's set that foundation now. That's why this episode is called Ahead of the Game, because this generation can lead the way if we prepare them. So we're breaking down things in today's show: AI as a thinking partner, how to use AI for brainstorming, not just output, reflective practice in the age of automation, tools that spark critical thinking, and then digital mentorship and authenticity, relating to an artist.
Yeah, and we're not here to say AI is good or bad. We're here to say be intentional, be bold, be reflective, and most importantly, be ahead of the game because the future is already in the classroom.
I agree. So we'll dive into how to turn AI into a creative thinking partner instead of just a copy paste machine. We want to see real art. This is why we call this show Artificial Intelligence. We want to take a moment to spotlight someone who always been an artistic force in the educational space. It's Dr. Wright, and as many know, call her now Centerine. You can check out her work at centerine.wixsite.com. Art by Centerine, and trust me, it's just not art, it's storytelling, it's healing, it's curriculum, it's culture.
Thank you, Eliza. So you all will get to know me through the creative world, through my pseudonym, or basically my artist name, which is Satirine. For me, art has always been a form of authentic expression done primarily in surreal representation. So my art, whether it's through mixed media, drawing, painting, my poetry, and even my soft erotic, it allows me to express interpersonal feelings and social consciousness. I use art not just to express, but to educate. And that's why this conversation about AI is so important because we're living in a time where representation, whether it's visual and digital, shapes how we learn and how we live.
And what I love about your practice, and again, I apologize because it's more than this practice, your art is very intentional. You're always asking what story is being told, who perceptive is center. That's something AI cannot generate. Experience, cultural wisdom. These are the things encoded in your artwork, and it shows.
Yes, and that's the difference between like machine made and soul made. One of my recent pieces, for instance, focuses on layering, such as my example, Mitochondrial Eve, how history, memory, and identity aren't linear but layered, just like my brushstrokes. AI can simulate that, perhaps, maybe even replicate it visually, but can it feel it? Can it mentor someone through it? Now, that's the power of human artistry.
So we've been talking about how AI can support learning, but this is a important pivot. How art itself supports learning. Through your pieces, your classroom becomes a gallery. And I got to experience that. Your syllabus became a canvas for your students. And I see how these students light up when they are invited to think like artists, not just like test takers.
Yeah, and I'd like to do a mix up in my class to infuse some of my art in the classroom, primarily for the students to kind of, get them exposed to how art is actually integrated with what they're doing in the classroom. And now with AI in the mix, we have new questions. If I ask an AI tool to generate a Black female figure inspired by migration and memory, what does it give me? Whose algorithm trained it? What is it erasing or simplifying? These are the critical questions that educators must raise when using tech in creative spaces. That's why we call this artificial, because we're reclaiming space for artistry in the age of automation.
So let's be clear, the future of education is not just AI driven, it's artist driven. Your work shows that when teachers bring their whole self, their culture, their creativity, their calling into the classroom, it changes everything. And now more than ever, we need teachers who are both culturally aware and digitally fluent.
Absolutely. If we want our students to be ahead of the game, we've got to model what it looks like. That means creating with care, critiquing with constructive criticism and courage, and using tools like AI with intention. My art reminds me every day that teaching is also a performance, a painting, a piece of choreography. It's alive.
So for those listening, again, check out the site satirene.wixsite.com. Art by Satirene, and see how visual storytelling intersects with pedagogy. Because what do you see on this site? You will see more than just artificial. You'll see that it is art official. So stay with us. Up next, we're going to talk about how we build digital mentorship models that sustains the next generation of teachers. This is ahead of the game, and you are tuned in to Artificial Intelligence. Bye for now.
And that's efficient.